On August 18th, 2017, a woman named Sierra Alexis Sutton walked into the Baytown Police Department in Texas. She was completely calm, composed, and collective. She sat down across from detectives and filed a missing persons report for her boyfriend, 32-year-old Steven Coleman. She told officers that Steven had walked out of their apartment 2 nights prior after an argument, saying he was going to look for his daughter and never came back. She pointed out that both of his vehicles were still parked at the complex, acting like a deeply concerned girlfriend who just wanted answers. But what the police didn't know at that exact moment was the terrifying reality of what had happened inside that apartment just 48 hours earlier. While Steven was fast asleep, Sierra had walked into the bedroom, pulled out a gun, and shot him directly in the head. And the horror didn't stop there. Because Steven was too heavy for her to move in one piece, Sierra took a machete and dismembered his body, wrapping the pieces up and throwing them into multiple dumpsters right outside their apartment complex. She wasn't at the police station looking for help. She was trying to stay one step ahead of the garbage trucks. To understand how things got to this point, you have to look at who Steven Coleman actually was, because far too often, the media reduces him to a sensationalized headline. Steven was a real person, a man who survived the absolute devastation of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans back in 2005. He lost everything familiar to him, packed up what little he had, and relocated to Baytown, Texas, where he built a beautiful life from scratch. Music was his entire identity. He performed under the rap name Slim Dawn and possessed an incredible talent. He had written and memorized over 300 original songs, able to perform any of them seamlessly from memory without ever needing a notebook or a phone screen. But above his music and everything else, his world revolved around his 6-year-old daughter, Anaya. He documented every single moment with her, and he made sure to call his mother, Cora, every single day without fail. He was a deeply loving son and a devoted father. In early 2017, Steven crossed paths with Sierra Sutton. She was a 30-year-old veterinary technician and a mother herself. When she claimed she was having severe family issues and had nowhere else to go, Steven opened his door and let her move into his Briarwood Village apartment. It didn't take long for the environment to turn entirely toxic. Friends described the relationship as a volatile, dangerous cycle, with one close friend noting that Sierra seemed to have the mind of a truly bad spirit. The conflict eventually spilled into the complex parking lot, where a neighbor witnessed a violent altercation between the two. Steven desperately wanted out of the relationship, but Sierra flatly refused to leave. The tension grew so severe that Steven actually looked his closest friends in the eye and left them with a chilling prediction. If anything ever happens to me, if I go missing, look at Sierra. She did it. On the night of August 16th, Steven came home from work, and yet another massive argument broke out. Exhausted, he went to the bedroom and fell asleep, completely unaware that he would never wake up. After taking his life and realizing the logistics of moving his body, Sierra began her gruesome cleanup. The very next morning, surveillance cameras at a local Walmart captured her calmly walking the aisles, using Steven's own credit card to buy duct tape and a mattress pad. She wrapped his remains, carried them down the stairs under the cover of night, and scattered them across the complex dumpsters, fully expecting the routine sanitation schedule to permanently erase the evidence. She then made the audacious move to file the missing persons report to control the narrative. But just 4 days later, her plan began to unravel. A worker at the Chambers County landfill discovered human remains mixed in with the fresh waste. As detectives connected the dots and called Sierra for a follow-up interview, Hurricane Harvey slammed into the Texas coast. Taking advantage of the historic storm and the absolute chaos engulfing the region, Sierra turned off her phone and fled the state. When police executed a search warrant on the dark, empty apartment, the furniture was gone, but the forensic evidence was undeniable. Blood and biological material were found across the bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, and inside her Jeep. Neighbors also came forward, revealing they had seen Sierra moving furniture in the dead of night and shockingly attempting to sell Steven's personal belongings to people in the complex just days after he vanished. Sierra managed to make it to Metairie, Louisiana, but her undoing came from her own mouth. Feeling entirely safe, she calmly confided in her best friend and her brother's girlfriend, confessing to the murder and casually explaining that she had to cut Steven up because he was just too heavy to carry. Horrified by the sheer coldness of her admission, the women immediately contacted the authorities. On September 14th, 2017, the U.S. Marshals tracked Sierra down and arrested her. In February 2019, Sierra Alexis Sutton stood in a Harris County courtroom and was convicted of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to 45 years in state prison, meaning she won't even be eligible to apply for parole until roughly 2040. While the state secured a conviction, Steven's family was left with the heavy weight of unanswered questions, as additional charges for tampering with evidence and child endangerment, since Sierra's 10-year-old daughter was present in the apartment during the crime, were never pursued by the prosecution. For Steven's mother, Cora, who still visits his grave every single month, the sentence felt like a compromise for a life that was brutally stolen. True crime coverage often gets lost in the horror of the killer's actions, but we must remember that Steven Coleman was a talented artist, a survivor, and a father who deserved to come home. Sierra Sutton believed the trash trucks and a historic hurricane would cover her tracks, but Steven's warning to his friends and the conscience of the people she trusted ensured the truth finally made its way into the light.